Welcome back, Deathlings. Something I have been thinking about recently is why people have such trouble tackling and facing their fear of death. It occurred to me that a lot of people are probably unaware of what their fear actually is. And if you don't know what the fear is, it's just gonna be one big black void of threat. Like death. Mufasa. Death. It's just a nebulous, unknown fear, which is the worst kind because you can't do anything about it. Say you have a box in front of you with a pizza in it. You can't just pick up the whole pizza and eat it. It would be too overwhelming. But if you cut the pizza into individual slices and eat them slowly over a period of hours while watching Netflix, you can certainly consume that whole pizza. I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying I have anecdotal evidence that you could. So let's cut this thing into slices. This is an exercise that I did for the first time at a talk last week in North Carolina. It's based on an article from the Journal of Abnormal and Social Psychology, and you may remember a version of it from my book. First, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Now take a deep breath in and exhale. I shouldn't have to fix my hair. Everyone's eyes are closed right now. Deep breath in, exhale. Are your eyes really closed? I'm watching you. I'm going to read 7 reasons that people are afraid of death, and I want you to think about which ones are really your fears. Not just things that sound scary, but things that are really your fears. For example, I don't want to be eaten alive by a shark, but I don't walk around my daily life actively afraid of sharks, if you know what I mean. Number 1, I'm afraid to die because my death would cause grief to my relatives and friends. Number 2, I'm afraid to die because all of my ambition, my plans, my projects would come to an end. Number 3, I'm afraid to die because I'm worried the process of death might be painful. Number 4, I'm afraid to die because I would no longer be able to have any experiences. Number 5, if I died, I would no longer be able to care for my dependents. Number 6, I'm afraid to die because I'm afraid of what might happen to me if there is life after death. Finally, number 7, I'm afraid to die because of what might happen to my body after I die. And open your eyes. I hope that there were 1 or 2 in there that really resonated with you and you went, oh yes, yeah, that one, that's my fear. Now you need to get to work on addressing that particular fear, which is much easier than just the monolith of terror. I'm gonna recommend just a few things to get you started. Say you're a number 1, worried about the grief of your friends and relatives. Maybe start by reading some grief memoirs. I just read The Fantastic Men We Reaped by Jesmyn Ward, or the epilogue that my friend Lucy Kalanithi wrote for her husband Paul's book, When Breath Becomes Air. Books like these show just how resilient survivors are and just how much it is possible to go on after a death. Maybe even consider writing personal notes to your nearest and dearest to be put aside in the case of your eventual death so that they can read it and get that message directly from you. What if you're a number 2, afraid that all of your plans and projects will come to an end? I know a little something about this, as I am a number 2 myself, both in sex appeal ranking and death fears. I have to make sure I know how my nonprofit and my funeral home are going to continue on after I die. I have to make sure I have good people running them and that I have money set aside. I really think that addressing this one is all about organization and logistics. If you're one of the people worried that the process of dying might be painful, you have to have a written advance directive alongside conversations with your next of kin and family that you don't want extreme medical intervention intervention as you are dying. There's a really good short documentary on Netflix called Extremists that's about exactly this, what happens when people don't have those conversations in advance and the prolonged pain and suffering that it can potentially cause. What if you're a number 4, worried about all of your experiences coming to an end? Well, get out there and have experiences now, man. How are you living your life? You know all those articles written by nurses that are like top 5 regrets of the dying? The number 1 regret always seems to be, I didn't get out there, I didn't have more experiences, I didn't live my life more authentically to who I was. If you worry you're not going to be able to take care of your dependents, that sounds awful and I can't really understand it at this point in my life, but I found this really excellent NPR article about how to set up guardianships for your children and how to set them up financially. I know that dependents can of course be adults as well, but I think a lot of the tips will still apply. If you fear life after death, this goes back to the beginning. Articulate what your fear actually is. Is it hell? If so, no matter what your religion, find a priest, a rabbi, imam, a leader who will give you a kinder version of the afterlife. This is my personal opinion, of course, but I don't believe that anyone should have to be deeply terrified of the afterlife, especially given how many more liberal, loving interpretations there now are in all religions. Finally, if you're number 7, afraid of what's going to happen to your body after you die. This is my favorite one because I think it's the easiest to tackle. What do you want done with your body? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? Study up on the cremation process, on decomposition. Find out what goes on behind the scenes at a funeral home and what will happen to your body. I promise you that your imagination is far worse than reality here. This is just a place to start, of course, but let me know in the comments what number fear you are, because that will actually really help me pinpoint where I should be focusing these videos and blogs. Also, if you've had an experience of facing one of these fears, what is it that worked for you? I think that will be really helpful to your fellow deathlings. Brought to you with support from People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home, and donations from viewers like you. What if you're a number 4? Sorry, a squirrel just like, woo, it's close. Death! Year of content.